Skyrim VR. Wait, how do I record VR? Wait, what is going on with that chicken? Okay, OBS has a plugin that you can record VR. What is that? Okay. Well, I guess we'll fix the game first. First off, we're going to use Mod Organizer 2, because if you use Vortex, it just screws everything up. People tell me it doesn't, but it does. So create a new instance. It actually has a Skyrim VR instance. That's pretty nice. So I've got a new instance. I know I'm going to need the script extender. Let's go get it straight away. Go download the VR specific version of the script extender. Beautiful. Now I have the extender. I have to copy it into the Skyrim VR folder. I think there's a better way to do this. Please let me know in the comments the actual way I'm supposed to do this with Mod Organizer now. But for now, we'll just do it this way, and we will link our script extender to Mod Organizer via this panel here. Use the script extender as the binary, and start in the Skyrim VR folder, and we should be all set to use the script extender through Mod Organizer. Of course, nothing's going to be fixed yet, but at least it didn't crash the game. So without doing any prior research beforehand, I decided to download Display Tweaks, which fixes physics issues in the flat version of Skyrim. Of course, it does not fix the physics issues in the VR version of Skyrim. After doing a little Googling, I find some settings that are related to physics in Skyrim VR. I cannot figure out where to paste these settings, so it takes me 9 hours to find out that it's actually the Skyrim INI. So I paste the settings into the INI, boot up the game, and I can legitimately never tell if it's a Bethesda bug or if it's a physics issue. Anyway, back to Google, and I finally do find a person who tells us it's supposed to be pasted in the Skyrim INI in your Skyrim VR directory, and he's not sure why no one else mentions this. So I paste those settings in the right spot, and my physics issues are finally fixed. After cautiously approaching the chicken and checking the water for any more glitches, I am convinced that I have fixed this problem, so we can finally move on. As a side note, this is only for headsets that are 120 frames per second. If you're using a headset at 90 frames per second, I don't think you'll see any of these issues. After spending hours on something that should have taken 30 seconds, I am ready to make some progress. Now this stuff is kind of boring, man, so I just go straight to Reddit, let somebody else do all the work for me, and get the extenders that I know are going to be relevant later. Even if they're not relevant, they run in the background, and they don't seem to take up enough resources that it really matters. I don't know. Sky UI, easy setup. Nice. Looks great. Why have I been on GitHub so many times and I still can't figure out that it's under releases and not under code? So click releases for engine fix, which is called B-Lighting Shader or something. All this stuff basically just has to be extracted in your Skyrim VR root folder. I think there might be a way to do it through Mod Organizer too. Like I say, let me know in the comments if there's a way, but as far as I know, most of this stuff actually has to be put in the root folder. Let's boot up the game, make sure it doesn't crash. Great. Increase actor limit VR, that sounds like a swell idea. Race menu for a pretty version of a first-person character. I love it, I need it. Papyrus is something I don't understand, but I'm sure it's quite important for a few things, so we'll definitely get that one. Now make sure you get the VR-specific version of this stuff, and I'm definitely not saying that because I got the wrong version of any of these during any time of the making of this video. Drag and drop, drag and drop. Drag and drop. We're going to do some drag and dropping. We're going to create a couple separators, and we're going to find some more very important mods that run in the background. A good portion of this stuff you can download with Mod Organizer, but there are some you have to do a manual download and drag that stuff into your root folder. You can tell most of this is pretty easy at this point. We just kind of have to organize it so that all this stuff loads before everything else in the mod list. If it doesn't, you're going to run into issues where things are not overwritten correctly, and etc., etc. Good dog. Well, visually this game needs a lot of work. We'll start by fixing the shadow direction. The mod works during the day, but there are limitations in VR that keep the moons from casting shadows at night. We'll snag the mod either way. Take a quick little stroll down Riverwood to make sure everything is working fine, and the shadows do look a lot better when they're coming from the sun. Next, we'll play with some lighting mods. This is what it looks like, totally vanilla. There's definitely some shadow glitches, things like that, and overall it's pretty flat. Man, this game is lazy. First, I downloaded Enhanced Lights and Effects and went through the checkboxes in Mod Organizer 2. Loaded up the game, walked around a little bit. I do like the look of the lighting, but there were some shadow glitches that kind of stopped me from using this one. Next, I tried relighting Skyrim with an ambient light overhaul, but shadow glitches, which I found later is going to be fixed by a totally different mod, stopped me from using this one as well. It was quite a while after recording this part that I ultimately decided to use Lux as my lighting overhaul. It was a little more work, but it was worth it. At this point, I was pretty overwhelmed and had spent a lot of time modding, so I decided to chase this bee. Got it. Next, I had the long mission of fixing the shadows in the game. I was hoping there was more that I could do with ENBs, but they don't seem to support a lot of the features that Skyrim Flat does. I also went on a very long detour to install community shaders at some point, because they have some features that ENB is missing. I really did like how it looked, but unfortunately the cost of performance was just too heavy, and I couldn't maintain a 90 frame per second frame rate. Oh, yeah, remember all that in the beginning where I had to manipulate my frame rate with the INI and all that, spent a lot of time? That was all worthless in the end because I ended up having to go to 90 frames per second anyway. Here we are back in Skyrim with an ENB installed. It looks much, much better. At this point I had pretty heavily manipulated the INI files for longer shadow draw distances and higher resolution as well. Next, I was on the hunt for some water mods. I was going to see what people were doing lately, and this guy had a post that looked pretty good in my eyes, and luckily he had put all the mods he used in the description, so I was able to download all those, put them in order, and I was actually very pleased with the result. I had to fix the file structure of one of the mods at some point, but it was a pretty easy fix and I went on my way. Opened up the game, looked around. I really like the way this looks. Excellent, so we move on to trees. There are a million tree mods. I had a good idea of what I wanted since I'd already modded the flat Skyrim version, but unfortunately a lot of those mods don't work with VR, so I wasn't able to just like transfer folders or anything really. I went through and handpicked a lot of the mods again. Once I got the trees installed, I could feel it all coming together. Everything felt a lot more full and fleshed out. I did use the bigger trees version at first, but that was just too much on my frame rate, so I had to default back to the smaller trees, but I did keep the lush version. After finally leaving Riverwood for the first time, I started noticing how bad the LOD was, or the LOD, or load, or whatever you want to say. There was a ton of pop-in at this point. Downloaded some foundation texture mods first before I got ready to use Dyndolod. Dyndolod is luckily very easy to install. All you have to do is go to their website and read 798 pages of information about why you should have had a 1 instead of a 0 in your settings. Also, you will need to have went to college for game design for a minimum of 4 years to be able to understand any of the information in the guide. So, after spending 4 years studying and cramming, I finally graduated first in my class and was able to understand the program that is Dyndolod. And now my trees look very nice when I look at them in the distance. Beautiful. I always have my slew of issues with Dyndolod, but it kept crashing this time because I had uninstalled the software Armory Crate, which comes with Asus hardware, and that allows me to change the fan speed in my computer case. When I uninstalled it, it was regulating the fans automatically, but not giving me enough fan speed to prevent my computer from overheating, because they built the 13900 KS to run way too hot. So after 2 days or maybe 3 days of troubleshooting, I finally figured out that if I keep my fans at full speed, Dyndolod will work every time. Classic. I initially had planned to stop here and have this be enough, but I had way too much to fix to just leave it. At this point, I already had hours of 4K 60 footage recorded of the process and didn't want to completely fill up my hard drive, so I did everything else off screen. I should have recorded snippets as I went, so I'll really have to just figure that out if I do long videos like this in the future. I took a lot of mods from my fully modded Skyrim game that you can check out here, but I also downloaded a lot of new mods. The most notable mods are the ones that change the VR experience completely, like Rick, Higgs, Plank, and other various mods that let you see your body, interact with the real world, and even grab characters by the face and beat them up. I was also impressed to see that things like hair physics could also be brought to the game. All in all, this was a very long experience. I thought it would be a quick video, but 2 weeks later, I should have been more prepared for what I was getting into. I had spent literally a full month at one point in my life modding Skyrim, the flat version, with over 600 mods, but I always forget how much it sucks you in. I didn't know it would be this much work. I thought I would be able to get a few mods and get the game off its feet, but it needed a lot of effort to fix the stuff that would bother me on a playthrough. VR is a lot less forgiving. Luckily, there are so many mods out there, and most of them do work from the flat version. Before I go, I will say the experience of a fully modded game of Skyrim is pretty much second to nothing that I've ever experienced. Being able to reach out and touch things, grab things, flick things into your hand, eat bread, read books, it's absolutely an insane experience, and I recommend it for anybody if you can deal with the pain of setting it up. If you're still watching this, I really appreciate you sticking around and listening to me ramble this whole time. Hopefully you found it informative or at least entertaining. Enjoy some footage of the modded game. If you guys have any specific questions about how I've done anything, let me know in the comments. If you guys want to see specific videos on anything, also let me know. I'm happy to make tutorials and things like that. I really don't know why I made this video in the first place. I just thought it might be fun to see the progress and see what happens when you dedicate time into modding your game. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one. Oh yeah, and you can definitely just download like a Wabbajack and have somebody do all the work for you, but I like to do it all myself because then I know exactly what mods go into the game.
Let me guess. Someone stole your sweet roll. Hey, hands off! Watch what you're doing.
I'm not fretting. I don't want Irid playing those sorts of games.
All right, I'll speak to her.
We We may not have as much to offer as Whiterun or Solitude, but we'll do what we can to make your stay a pleasant one. Winterhold doesn't offer much, but we like living here. Been here all our lives. If you're here for the college, don't let the folks in town bother you. Just try and keep to yourself. How dare you?
You have committed crimes against Skyrim and her people. What say you in your defense?
Enjoy the chill.